Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is David the Sunrise to Others, coming back at you with another live video. And today I want to talk to you about the gender war. I always forget to turn my ringer off. Sorry about that, guys. Just bear with me for a second here. So today I want to talk to you about the gender war, and I put the war in quotation marks. And the reason is because it's not a war, right? It's a decimation. And the point of the decimation is not to kill all the males, but to destroy manhood and masculinity. And in order to do that, you have to, there's several steps and processes that you have to go through to make that the reality. Okay, so what's the first step? Well, the first step is to incorporate the narrative around manhood about taking abuse, right? Manhood has to be incorporated with the acceptance of abuse. And so what do I mean by that? So if you can, and I put this on the post, if you can convince somebody that that they are strong for taking abuse. So you incorporate it into the ego of the person, right? The more abuse you take, the stronger you are. So it just means that you will be abused with impunity, right? And if you ever bring up the abuse, you're going to be called weak, right? Because the incorporation, and some of this is with black women as well, right? When black women talking about how strong black women are, they're usually talking about their strength in the context of endurance and enduring pain and suffering, right? Which creates a situation where people treat you accordingly, right? They don't treat you like you're human because you have an inordinate ability to accept abuse. So that's the kind of the situation with black women. That's why you, when you talk about the lack of femininity amongst black women, it's because we have incorporated into the ego of the black woman to take abuse as well. But the difference between the black man's acceptance of abuse and the black woman's acceptance of abuse is black women have institutions to validate their experience, and that's important, right? Something like 85% of child custody cases are won by women, and so that's a systematic advantage that you have, right? When you talk about, domestic violence, even if she starts the altercation, even if she initiates the altercation, right? There's a video that was recently put up where a black woman really got all in the police officer's face, right? Like really goading him, calling him out of his name, got up in his face like she was a man, right? And so the dude just it's not funny, right? The dude just hauled off and stole on her like she was a man, right? But she got in his face like she was a man. And so what I'm saying is, what you see incorporated in the ego experience of that is she thought that she had the power, and she did have the power. The dude lost his job, right? So despite how he responded to her initiation, I can promise you this: had that been a man, he wouldn't have lost his job. But because it was a woman, she's able to, the institution works on her behalf. And so you have this institutional support behind black women, and how that impacts the gender war, right? You have to understand how that impacts the gender war. And this is not to blame black women, right? Black men and women create black men and women. So whatever we have in our interactions, somebody did this. There was somebody there before us that set this up. We just play our role in it. And one of the things I tell black men all the time, right? Opt out of those roles, man. Opt out of the roles that don't respect your masculinity. If it don't respect your masculinity, don't try to impose yourself. Don't try to force yourself. Just opt out, because you can't win this battle. But there are going to be some black men out there with humongous egos, like, you got to do this and you got to do that, but it's not well thought out, right? It's emotional because it's ego based. It's based in the ego. It's an ego defense mechanism that he's trying to protect himself in a way that is not productive for his own humanity, right? So he's going to keep putting himself at risk, putting himself at risk without checking to see, is this woman in alignment, right? If she's using the system, back away, man. Back away, because the more you fight her, the stronger it makes her, because she has this whole institution of feminism, the media, and white supremacy behind her. Yes, black women are using white supremacy as a weapon against black men. And so when you talk about the gender war, it's important to understand it's not a war, right? In a war, there are two sides with two ideally equal competencies in the battle. Equal competencies in the battle. They have the same weaponry, they have the same skill set. One may be slightly higher than the other, but this is not a slightly higher. That's why I said on my post, this is an Israeli-Palestine, where the Israeli government has not only the Israeli government to support it, it has America to back it, it has Europe to back it, right? It's backed by these large institutions, and then you just have these Palestinians with bricks. Right? So the Palestinians with bricks isn't really a war. It's a resistance. It's the idea of let's just keep the consciousness aware of the conflict long enough to hopefully something changes, something happens, right? And that's what black men have. Black men have a resistance against black women. It's not a fight. We are losing. There is no, when you talk about a gender war, there is no metric where black men have an advantage over black women. None at all. So they're beating us across all metrics, right? Employment rates, education rates, child custody rates. Black women initiate 80% of divorce, right? They have every advantage in this battle. We are getting slaughtered. And the reason we continue to get slaughtered, right, is because all of the, and this is why I say using the black man's ego against him is the greatest weapon, right? You just got to take it. So what if she take your kids? So what if she destroy your family? You just got to take it. But here's why no one wins. Because so let's say, for example, America went to war in Vietnam, right? I forget how many years it was. It was several years, 3 to 5 years or something like that. And then we had to pull out, right? Because they had an advantage that we didn't have, right? So we had the might and power to fight, but they had some advantage that we didn't have. So the war essentially became a stalemate. It essentially became a stalemate. And so after the stalemate in the battle, then you have to negotiate a peace treaty, right? Because we quit. We stopped the war. There can be no peace treaty with black men and women because black women are dominating this war. They're dominating the war, right? But it's our ego that makes us not admit that they're dominating the war. They have our children, man. They have our legacy. They have our legacy. And here's how you know that it's not a war. There is no aspect of the black community that black men control. We don't control our women. We don't control our children. And we have no control over each other, right? I want black men to stop killing each other. There's nothing that I can do to stop black men from killing each other. Why? Because I can't even tell my ex-wife what to do with my kids. So how am I tell a grown man what to do with his life when I don't even have any say-so about what's going on with my kids? Right? And that's the position that the black man is in. Across the board, you are smashed, smashed, smashed. And so my sentiment to you is to just opt out of the war, man. Don't fight. Find women that you can negotiate with. They are out there. There are black women who love you. They love you. And it may be hard for them in this context to express that to them, but you have to let those particular women know that you are open to their love. Right? When I say they love you, they want to see you fully as a man. Fully as a man. And they will respect you and they will regard that for you. Them other women, man, leave them alone. I don't care if they got your kids. Leave your kids. Leave everything. Leave everything everything she's using the system against you for, leave alone. Just walk away from it. You can't win that battle. She has the whole system against you. And I need you to understand. She's using a system against you that's oppressing her. That's why I'm telling you to walk away, man. You can't negotiate with that type of there's no logic. There's no reasoning in that, right? She just feels a way and she's going to dominate you like that. So just leave her alone, man. And I hate to tell black men to walk away from their kids, but walk away from your kids with rebellious women that are using the system against you, right? Because what they do, here's what they used to do in slavery, right? And then you can understand this. Here's what they used to do in slavery. So during slavery, when one slave got out of line, they would bring all the slaves together, right? Everybody had to watch this. And in front of all the slaves, crack, crack, crack in front of everybody. And that's what these black women who are using the system against black men, that's what they doing. In front of your sons, in front of your daughters, they letting everybody know. They run this shit, not you. You ain't the man of the house. You ain't the man of the community. You ain't the man of nothing. You ain't the man of nothing. And then she let you walk around here with your chest all pumped out. Maybe she'll let you put your penis in her. That'll make you feel like a man. But the reality is she dominates you in every other aspect of your life. Every other aspect of your life, the black woman dominates you, not because she's stronger than you or better than you, but because she's using this white man system against you as a weapon, right? My ex called the police on me 13 times, man. 13 times. The same police that's gunning us down in the street, she called them. You know, black men have a code. We don't call the police on each other. Whatever issues we have, we work that out between us, however we see fit to work that out. You call the police, you know, it's a title they have for you. And it's a now, that's not to say that there are some black men who say they ain't calling the police, but behind the scenes they working with the police. But the point of the matter is that we require a self-governance, so we have to be able to work with each other who are willing to work with each other. If she got a black man on child support, leave her alone, man. Leave her alone, unless that's something that they mutually negotiated. And if they mutually negotiated, there's really no reason it has to go through the system. Like, you had those children together. Y'all didn't need the system to have those children together. Why is the government in your business? But that's what they do, right? Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And black men, you don't have no power. Now, what black women don't have power anywhere else except over you, and that's intentional. So leave those black women alone. There are plenty of black women out there who has never put their man on child support, whatever his situation was. There are some, I said there's plenty. There are some out there. I know them. I know them. They've come on my page and told me I would never put my ex on child support. They've told me that. Why? Because they can handle their own business, right? And they know within themselves, there's a level of comfort within themselves that they know if they need the help of a man, they can find a man that will help them. There are plenty of black men, like 60% of black children are born from siblings of a different dad. And what that tells you, and I say this all the time, black men are the most likely to get with a woman with children. The most likely. So the idea, so I'm not finna get with a woman and let her children suffer. But ain't nothing, but a part of that is, if I'm with her, then she's under my authority, right? It's my household. It's my values. It's my structures that we are aligning with reality, right? And she knows that. That's why she chose me, right? Men propose, women dispose. Women are the choosers. They decide which men get access. So when she decides that that man get access, that means she's saying, I trust this man's leadership. I trust this man's vision. I trust this man's guidance, right? He's not controlling her, right? Somebody said in the interview I did recently, he said there's a difference between control and guidance. There's a difference between control and guidance. You know, with my lady, I always tell her, like, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you what to do. But I'm giving you advice. I'm giving you instruction. It's an offering to you, right? And if she has some regard for me, she'll consider that in her decision making, right? Because whatever the outcome of her decision is, we both have to deal with that. So it's not just her decision. We both have to deal with that. But I respect her autonomy in the relationship. But the whole point of this is, and I'm trying to express to you, because people always say, like, if the government don't make him pay, he ain't gonna pay. But he ain't paying anyway. Black man broke. Y'all know y'all ain't getting that child support. Any woman who getting child support is because a man have a job and they taking child support, not because he paying it. So we don't even pay child support. I don't pay child support. I wouldn't pay them nothing, right? Because they opted out. It'd be different if I wanted out, right? If I wanted out, then I have to pay to get out. But I didn't want out. You wanted out, so I wouldn't pay you nothing, right? The idea is I need to have leverage over my children, right? That's what Brenda Vernon said. Children need to be under full subjugation of their father. But when we co-parenting, there is no full subjugation. She's the real parent. You the alternative. She's the real parent. And it's structured that way. Why? Because the system backs her. If the system didn't back her, this wouldn't be a war. This wouldn't be the war in the other direction, right? She would be dependent on you. She would be dependent on your resource. She would be dependent on your knowledge, as she should be, right? And like, people talk about being dependent on somebody like it's a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if the person you depended on is a foul person, right? And black men have become dependent on black women, and black women have proven their foulness towards you, black man. So women who operate in that paradigm, leave them alone. Leave them alone. Boycott those women. And unfortunately, it's going to mean that you're not going to have a relationship with your children. But just understand this. You can only control what you can control. And that's the point. You can't raise children with a woman you can't control. You can't raise children with a woman who's out of control. As Noah. As Lot. That's the point of those prophets. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran, we put you under good men. Right? But they couldn't be influenced by those good men. So that's the thing. First, make sure you have a good man, right, that you're having kids with. And if you know you a good man, like you ain't out here dogging women out. You ain't out here, like, you know what a good man is, man. I don't have to tell you that. You know what a good man is. And don't bullshit yourself. Don't bullshit us, because we all know. All of us know. If you're dealing with a good man, if you want to leave the relationship, that's what I told her. You can go off with him and be with him and leave me and my kids and we'll be cool. I don't need nothing from you. Nothing. But that ain't what she did, right? That ain't what most women do. Most women want out of the relationship and they want all the rights they had in the relationships to stay intact. They want their children to have a supportive and noble father, right? But that's not, you didn't stay with a supportive and noble father. That's not what you did. You chose to categorize him as a bum. So I'm saying, if she categorizing you as a bum, be a bum. Be that to her. They out here talking about he over there taking care of some other women's children because she submits. He ain't taking care of her children. He's honoring his masculinity by being with a woman who has high regard for his masculinity. You don't. So your children suffer. Your children suffer because you can't be under the authority of their father. That's why your children suffer. Not because he a deadbeat, not because he left his family, not because he abandoned y'all. Yeah, he's going somewhere where his masculinity is needed, where his masculinity is appreciated, where his masculinity is honored, where there's dignity in him being a man. That ain't what you have. You out here calling him a deadbeat, but taking his money. Got him in the system, putting him in prison because he's behind on child support. That's what you do. That ain't what he doing to you. But that's what I'm saying, black men. Like, don't fight with these women. Don't argue with these women. If they want to get child support, let them get child support. Let them use the system. Acknowledge that they're using the system and explain to your children, if they ever desire to know, right, that your mom weaponized the government against me. So unfortunately, that meant that you didn't have a father. And people always act like the father not being involved is always the father's fault. But that's perfect, right? That's perfect for the narrative that I'm talking about. There are certain narratives. When I say they control the narrative, they control that narrative. So people can tell me, like, your dad is a deadbeat because he wasn't around. Like, nah, your dad was a deadbeat because your mama took you and moved you out of town without your dad's permission. That's what happened. But nobody's going to say that to the kids because they don't want to make mom look like the person she actually is, right? And I'm saying that's one of the things when you talk about the white community, they don't have no problem calling out foul mothers. In the black community, we have a problem with that. But that's because black women completely, I need you to understand, completely dominate black men. And some black men ain't going to like it because I'm saying this. But that's the point. Black women dominate black men in every category. You look at every metric, they atop of you. And that's the case with no other community. And that's why in other communities, men still have leverage over the lives of their women and the lives of their children. You have a responsibility as a man to take care of, to protect, to nurture, to develop, to make sure that I say this, being the head of household means creating an environment that optimizes the potential of everybody in the network. Your wife should thrive. Your children should thrive. You should thrive. Nobody should have to sacrifice. Every now and then there may be, all right, we're going to sacrifice over here so the child can do this. Or we're going to sacrifice over here so mom can do this. Or we're going to sacrifice over here so dad can do this. But everybody got a turn, and everybody within the network don't feel a way about somebody else's time. You know, like if it's your time to shine, then we all going to get behind and support your time to shine. And that's what black men are supposed to be facilitating in their families. And you have some black men who are incompetent, but there are going to be incompetent men when when you come from a community where all of your men, myself included, are completely dominated by your women. Right? Nobody ever listens to me and thinks Rais is incompetent. Rais can't offer something to his children. But it has to be me, right? I'm offering my manhood to my children or nothing. I'm not offering them a watered down version of manhood. And that's a part of my positioning, right? That's a part of my positioning and my strategy for my people, not just for my children, for my people. And that's what I'm saying. The only way black men can get power back is to not play this power game with black women. Don't play this power game with black women. They don't have no right. Black women have no right over you. By Allah, by God, by the universe, by whatever the standard, right? One of the things the Green Gorilla talked about in the interview I had with him is that across all the mammals, almost all, with a few exceptions, it's a patriarchy. So the patriarchy isn't something that humans did, right? It's innate in the creation. And because we have a certain level of consciousness, we're supposed to be aware of what we're doing with the patriarchy. So we, both men and women, like the Spartan women, felt like they were a part of the patriarchy. Queen Gorda said, Spartan women give birth to real men. Right? That ain't how black women feel. Black women don't feel like they give birth to real men because they have no intent on you being a real man. Nothing about their speech, nothing about their behavior, nothing about their dress, nothing about their very lives and the existence even acknowledges you as a man. Right? I mean, I've had to tell women on several occasions that I work with, like, we can't even have a conversation if you're going to come dressed at work with your titties out. Like, I can't even have a conversation with you because it's the level of disregard that you have for my manhood mean I can't associate with you, right? I already know that you will compromise my manhood. You don't even think about it, right? There are things that I have to think about in regards of your femininity, right? That I have to think about. I have to think about my language, my aggression, how I talk to you. You know, every time I go to reach for something that's past a woman, I always tell her, excuse me, sis, I'm not trying to get fresh with you. I'm just trying to get that thing. I let her know. Why? Because I respect her femininity. I respect the boundary that's between us as a man and a woman that allows us to get our job done. But that's not what they're doing. They on something else. They on some witchcraft and wizardry, and they got all these men lined up, and I call it posturing for pussy. Like, man, just be mindful, black man. Just be mindful. You can't win this war because they have institutions behind them. You do not have institutions behind you. In fact, I just want you to understand, you don't have nobody behind you. You are essentially on your own. Black men will abandon you. Black women will abandon you. Obviously, the system's going to abandon you. Everybody's going to abandon you. You are on your own. And the only thing we can do together that will make any difference is boycott any black woman that is using the system against black men. But in order to do that, we have to be sure that if a woman says, all right, I ain't going to use the system no more, but what am I supposed to do? Then that's when we have to chip in, right? Because she came on our side in a way that she's supposed to, right? So once she submits, then what's our responsibility? You can't just be asking black women to submit. What they get out the deal? What they get out the deal? They got to get something out the deal too. So if she gonna be submit, I tell you this all the time. Black women's femininity is supposed to rest securely in our masculinity. And if she can't be secure in our masculinity, there's no space over here for her. So she's not going to leave them for us if there's no space over here for her. She should be safe with us. She should be protected with us. When she needs something, she should be able to ask with all the rigmarole. We got you, sis. And that's where the loyalty comes in. So sometimes people, you know, I get told that I hate women. I get told that I'm a simp. I get told I'm everything. I'm telling you first, I'm a philosopher. And I'm looking for the best way forward for all of us. Right? And I know what my masculinity is worth. I know what my masculinity is for. I'm 6'4", 220. I'm a very strong man. And I use my strength. You can ask everybody who know me. I always use my strength to help others. And I'm going to use my strength to help black women first and foremost. But she cannot be using the enemy system against us.